You're attuned to the leading edge with Saint, the pulse of cricket podcast. I'm Saint. Every week we bring you the stories, insights, and moments that drive this beautiful game. From the grassroots to the global stage, women's cricket, youth cricket, club heroes, and the stars lighting up international arenas. We've got it all. Welcome to another episode of Leading Edge with Saint at Roundly Podcast Studios. So, for this episode, we're doing things a bit differently. Something happened in the weeks that made me I actually want to talk about this topic, and I'm not coming up with any solutions because I don't think I'm the person to bring solutions to this. But I think I should actually have a guest to answer, to put clarity. So now, our country is always on a boiling point. Anything that's race that may happen, especially in our sport in cricket. But this happened outside cricket. So some boys would do a podcast, said some things that some things about, I'll use this, colored people or so-called colored people. I use the word so-called because it's more complicated than just that. But it's a one of our races in South Africa that we've accepted. It's part of our constitution as well. So our minister, Gayton McKenzie, who is the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, and he's also the leader of one of South Africa's, I would say, leading parties. It might be one of the minority parties, but it's very influential, Patriotic Alliance. So now he went in there in this specific podcast to talk about his stance on what these young people did within their own podcast, and why did he believe they were wrong. But he also said something specific. They should be punished, but they should not be cancelled. Punishment in the sense of people need to always understand the concept of consequences for their actions when they do something. So that's a bit of a background to where we're coming at. But within that podcast, there was something that resonated with me that comes for cricket, per se, in South Africa, something that I still don't understand today. So in that podcast, the minister spoke about one of the things that makes the colored ethnic group in South Africa, or culture, is the fact, something that they don't like is the fact that they are called black, yes, but they're not called black African. And his concept is, maybe we are not black African, but we are colored African. Why are we not called African? And in cricket in South Africa right now, we have white, black, and black African. So the concept of being black African usually is most people who come from your Nguni backgrounds or your Basotho Tswana background. But if you come from more of a Khoi background, Cape Malay, Indian, Chinese, we tend to say you are black. And the funny thing is that I would say the Khoisan are the only ones who I would say are of African origin, compared to be it your Indian, your Cape Malay, or your Chinese or other. They tend to be Asian. And obviously there's mixed race, but I'm not going to go into that. And there was a conversation I had on social media, actually X platform, about this, where I'm not saying I was educating the person, but I just had to step in because he was saying what he was saying. And he's popular within the cricket community. So I won't say his name or his tweet, but he said colored people, when they do well, they not when colored people do well in the national team, or no, they're not given the praise. They're not black enough. Yes, that was He said black colored people are not black enough, according to Create South Africa. And I was like, actually, that's not true. According to Create South Africa, colored people are black, but they're just not black African. And whether I disagreed or agreed with him, that was not the point on my end. My point was just saying, if you're going to say something, say it with facts. Facts is, according to South Africa and according to Create South Africa, colored people are actually black. But the issue is that they're not black African. And I went into this more deep, per se, in my head, in the sense, now we're in cricket. You have a player like Bartman. Bartman, if you don't know him, he's played for Proteas. He is also plays for the Dolphins and played in the Eastern Cape Sunrisers. So he's won two titles in the SA20. He was quite influential. He was one of the highest wicket takers. But Bartman is a colored player. He's black, colored. He's not viewed as black African. And this part kind of gets to me in the sense of what makes him different from a Lungingidi, for example. Lungi comes from KZN. Um, well, you can say Ngumzulu. He's a Zulu speaker. He can correct me if he identifies as Umzulu per se, but he's a Zulu speaker as a first language. And Orton and Batman, who's from the Garden Route region, he's of Khoi origin. First language, obviously, it's Afrikaans, but he's from Khoisan origin. And understanding about Khoisan is that they're African. They were here as early as Abaxhosa probably were here. And this part of the conversation as well came in within that podcast where the minister, Mr. McKenzie, was in the sense of he was asked, tell us, what do you mean when you talk about the first people that Jan van Riebeck encountered? And he stated that he didn't get into too many details on are Khoi people colored or not. All he stated that there were dark-skinned people, and those dark-skinned people were Khoi people, and they were here, and they are the descendants. And he's one of those descendants. And they are descendants of a lot of people I can identify as well. Partially, I identify as a Khoi. But very huge part of me Xhosa. So just in case you want to come at me. But again, where I'm coming at this is that you have another player, Lizard Williams. You look at Lizard Williams and you're like, he's black African. He's not black. He's black African. So what separates him, again, from another player? What separates him from KG Rabat? Obviously he's from the Western Cape originally, Lizard Williams, and KG, I think Umtswana or Msotho. It's then to be corrected. But again, what separates him? So I really feel, as I said, I'm not here to come with solutions. I am puzzled and I want answers because I feel there's a group that does get marginalized in an improper way because they're not given their props of who they are in reality in terms of South Africa. My point is, like, I want an answer. Why would Orton Bartman viewed as black not be viewed as black African? Because there's a lot, and I say this because there's a lot of kids who coming from that streamline. There are a lot of players who probably could have benefited from being black African, but could not benefit from being black African because they were viewed as colored. And there are players who are mixed, and some of them if they don't identify with their black side more, they're probably known for their colored side. Chances are they get lost in the sauce. There's a black African batter of Lutz Bosman. Lutz Bosman, you looked at him, you're like, maybe he's colored because you never, well, his name is Lutz. But then you find out again, actually, his other name, Ulungile. Ulungile Bosman. And you look at the surname Bosman, but bakhona baxhosa bangobosman, you know. Um, and for us, surnames are just surnames, just in case you want to understand where that comes from. The main thing about you tends to be your clan name. Um, my great grandmother's surname was Grootboom, and that's as close as you come. But again, that's where my Khoisan lineage as well comes from. Should I identify as Black African, or now should I identify as Black? Or is it a matter of who are your parents? So this situation, I do feel, in South Africa right now we have a national dialogue, and I'm not sure when they're gonna even get to this situation. But for me, we just need to get the correct terms and say what it is that we need to get the correct terms and say administrative what it is, because I do feel we are still lost and we're still not where we need to be. And there are still people who are marginalized based on a lack of information, because there's a lack of information. And I'm not saying I have the information, hence I'm saying this podcast really it is about cricket, but it's about understanding the other concepts of what makes South African cricket and some of the things that we still lack in South African cricket. We're still looking for more Black African batters. That's true. We're still looking for more batters of color. That is true. And we're still looking for even more women cricket players. You know, there's still a lot of things that we still haven't done that are proper. But some of them I feel we can fix and we need to address and we need to say, because a lot of people, I'm not saying it hurts a lot of people, but I would say that a lot of people are confused and a lot of people do feel marginalized. And these are communities, not just individuals, these are communities. So I do think Cricket South Africa just needs to, for me, this is my personal opinion, I believe that Cricket South Africa just needs to fix that part, and so that we can start moving on and understanding who we actually are. Because again, I'm going to say Lizard Williams is Black African, and there's more of those players. There is more of those players, especially if you go through the Garden Route region, go through the Eastern Cape region. Because again, something did happen in South African cricket not so long ago. Eastern Province didn't field a Black African player in their 11, or they didn't have field a Black African batter in their 11, and they came up with the excuse why they didn't. But the punishment was severe because they lost points, and by losing those specific points, they couldn't make it to the finals of the CSA One Day Cup last season. The punishment was they didn't field a Black African player or they didn't field a Black African batter. Now, that region, it has a lot of people of color, or we'll say coloreds. But again, you would find out that some of those players are actually Black African. But because they're not classified as Black African, again, we lose the source, like we get lost. So these are conversations that we need to have answers to. And I would like for Cricket South Africa to answer these conversations properly, because, again, being African is not a matter of how your skin color is. Because I'll tell you right now, there are closer people who are light, like I don't know, and they don't have any whiteness in them. But it is what it is because we are different. We are all different, and we are African, and it would be right for us to actually ensure that we are on the right course as a country and we are properly represented because my closer lineage or me speak on because I don't want to be people saying no Zulu. I can hear Zulu, but I am not Zulu. We can say Kwangoni, but again, I'm just talking about the lineage. Like you want to be said what you are, and I think through that we'll have a very healthy cricket community, um, healthy cricket economic community as well, and yeah, as I said, we're just doing a question, and hopefully we'll have someone to answer these questions. Maybe from Create South Africa, maybe someone from government. Future idea, but again, they say put things into the universe. Maybe we have the minute of sports. But yeah, guys, thank you very much for listening. For this podcast. Yakwa Leading Edge with Scent at Round Your Studios. Thank you again. Until the next episode, we are out. Thanks for tuning in to the Leading Edge with Scent, the Pulse of Cricket podcast, proudly produced by Roundly Podcast Studio in partnership to bring you the stories and the voices of cricket. Until next time, stay on the leading edge of the game.